Okay, Mike, we're back. You went to a summit for new media, which is very vague and interesting and ethereal. But I saw you posting about it, so that seemed really cool. I saw you posting a bunch of sketch notes about it, so that seems cool. Any interesting thoughts about the new media summit, like real quick before we get started?
Okay. So it used to be the newsletter marketing summit. That's what it was launched as last year. This year it was rebranded to the New Media Summit. And I like this conference a lot.
Okay.
It's a little bit different. It's not a pure creator conference. So there are a handful of independent creators there. There's also a lot of people who run very, very big companies. Sam Parr spoke. He's the one who founded The Hustle. Cody Sanchez was the closing speaker this year. She's the Main Street millionaire in contrarian thinking. And really, really big audiences, big names. Like she's got 7-8 people who follow her around all the time and are constantly recording her to chop it up into media, like one of those people, Alex Hormozy style.
Yeah.
And but she was amazing. The stuff that she shared from the stage was really, really good. I think it's interesting though, because that particular conference, what that broad range of people gives you is a wide range of perspectives on lots of different things. So like the very first speaker was this person who was talking about how they're using AI. I think I talked a little bit about this in the pro show, but just real briefly, using AI to create a digital clone of themselves so they never have to create short form video content ever again. But then there's a lot of people from the same stage who are like, yeah, you can't just automate your content. You have to be the one who makes it. So you get a lot of differing opinions and nobody's like right per se, because AI is the point that the initial speaker made was that you can sit on your high horse, about I'm not going to use AI for stuff, but he's like, the AI revolution is here. So you may as well figure out how to use it. So it's like there's a through line there, which I think is really valuable, which is a little bit different than the echo chamber that you get at some very niche events. So there's a lot that happened at that event, and there's a lot that I still need to process because I got back just a couple of days ago as we record this. And I did take the sketch notes, so I wrote about those in my newsletter. And I've got a lot of wheels still turning. But I do like this event a lot, and I would recommend if people are interested in any sort of like marketing, media, promotion. It's a good event, and it was in Austin, Texas. So I ate lots and lots of great barbecue.
Great barbecue. Yeah, for sure. Barbecue. All right. Well, that's awesome. I guess without further ado, I mean, we should move into follow up. I did your PKM quiz.
Okay.
So that was my only follow up item that I had to do because there was nothing from the last book for me for follow up. So
yeah. Check. So the quiz, just real briefly, initial thoughts on like what it gave you. Did you feel like it was helpful? What sort of insights did you get?
I mean, like, I don't know if I got many insights out of doing the quiz on my side, other than it made me think about the way I use Obsidian, right? Or the way I don't use Obsidian. So it's like sure. that. I mean, that was good. I really kind of went into it going like, I wonder how Mike's going to use this stuff. I wonder how Mike's going to use this stuff. And like, I'm
still trying to figure it out. That's why I ask. Like, I put something together. I think this could be useful, but I'd like to know if it's useful.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there is like the thing you have with Obsidian. So where this I think adds a lot of value is people who use Obsidian are very committed to Obsidian. Like they love it. It is like a tool. It is their tool of tool if they've chosen Obsidian. So I think you've got that going for you, that no matter what you put out, and I don't mean this in a way of like, don't try. What I mean this is like, no matter what you put out, people are going to find it valuable. The people who care about Obsidian are going to find it valuable. But I agree with you. Like, what do you want to say and how do you want to say it? And like, it would be also interesting, like Can you give me rough numbers you willing to share? Like, did you get 100 people that filled it out? Did you get 50 people that filled it out? Like,
Oh man, to be honest, I don't even know. I'd have to look. I
okay.
can do that quick.
Yeah, you don't have to. Like, you don't have to. I'm just curious. It's like, that's an interesting thing too. I think it was a cool idea though. Like, so hopefully, and I know it's going to turn into something, but like, regardless, I think you should learn from whatever you got this year, put the thing out and then do it again next year and then do it again the next year and then do it again the next year.
All right. Yeah, I can't tell you actually because when I go to Score app, it says that the site cannot be reached. So that's not good.
Okay. Yeah. We'll solve that problem later.
Yeah.
Oh man.
But yeah, I am trying all sorts of stuff. I want to experiment a little bit more.
That's good. No, I liked it.
I had a couple action items. So one was to consider the feed deck app that we talked about, I think last time in the pro show as a test flight. And the test flight is live.
And I'm using it.
Are you? Okay.
Yeah. I told you I was, right? Did you see my feedback on the test flight?
I haven't logged into test flight. So I've been on vacation and then I went to New Media Summit. This is my first day back as we record this. Yeah. So I haven't had a chance to get caught up yet.
I sent you some feedback that just some like really quirky things. I can't remember what they are, but you can't like enter F in, right? Like it pulls up the filter thing, right? So if I try to type like Frank, it'll pull up the filter thing automatically because it's like it's like a shortcut key that's like super hard coded. I was like, well, can I do like lowercase f or big F? But like that's not the point. Like my point wasn't to call it flaws. My point was to say like it's cool. Like it sucks in exactly what you want it to suck in, and it puts it in a timeline the way you want it to put it in a timeline. Like
I tried to do like Gmail style keyboard shortcuts, so really easy shortcuts for everything. And I remember having that chat with Claude, and it wanted to use like Command F or something. And I was like, no, just make it F.
Yeah.
So well, I don't know why I didn't think about that. Yeah, obviously, if I have a shortcut in the app that uses the F key, you're not going to be able to enter F when you're like creating your lists, I'm assuming, right?
Yep. Yeah, it definitely used F, but I then couldn't write the letter F on anything. So it was just like it's goofy stuff that like when you're making it for you and you're just you're having fun and just goofing around, you just don't find that stuff. And I get that. Yeah.
So for people who are interested in that, by the way, it's a very limited test flight. I'm not going to make it open to everybody, but if you want access to it, first, I guess the first thing to do would be to join the email list. I'm going to open it up to people on my email list pretty soon, I think. But essentially what it is, and I didn't think anyone would ever want this, but I have my Supernote Nomad that I really love. And I wanted to set up a read later workflow that used my Supernote Nomad. So the only app that really works well on the Supernote Nomad is Instapaper, Readwise Reader, kind of, but not really. So I wanted to build something that had an Oliver Berkman style. All these things are in the river. You just see something you like and you send it somewhere to read later. Okay, that's what it is. It's a timeline, a chronological timeline that pulls in Mastodon, Blue Sky, subreddits that you are subscribed to, specific YouTube channels that you're subscribed to, and RSS feeds.
Yep.
And then you can, from the keyboard, you can apply filters, so you can see just the things that match the criteria, hence the F keyboard shortcut that causes conflicts for Cory. And then you hit the S key and it sends it to, it was Instapaper, but I think I added a couple others before I opened up the test flights, like Readwise Reader or what's the other one? Pocket. Are you using Readwise Reader, by the way?
No, I stopped using Readwise.
So what's the one that you're using? Is it still?
I'm just using your system.
So Instapaper, right?
No, like I'm not sending it anywhere. I'm reading it out of yours.
I'm
consuming it out of yours. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
which I'm liking it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what it is, and I gave it the name Feed Deck. I don't know why. Just sounded kind of cool. So yeah, that was my first action item. The second one was to read Walden. I started reading Walden. Dude, I do not like this book. The first chapter is 90 pages long, and there's some funny stuff in there. Funny. Like there was one specific quote that I was reading it at the pool. We were on vacation. I just cracked up laughing, and then I read it out loud to everyone who was nearby, and they laughed the same way. But other than that, like I'm not getting anything out of this book.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I'm probably not going to finish this one. But I attempted it. The other thing I have to mention here, this isn't actually an action item, but
Hold on, time out.
okay.
I'm proud of you for attempting that because I told you last time
You did.
there's no way. Like,
You
there's
did.
no way I'm even going after that one. So I'm proud of you for attempting. Good job. Put it on the shelf, Mike, or throw it in the trash or donate it to the library. Just get rid of it. It's gone. Get it out of here. Okay, now do your
All
other thing.
right. The other thing that I want to mention here real briefly is that starting April 6th, Rachel and I are going to be leading another life theme cohort. So this is going to take place in the library, which is my private PKM community. I made some changes to the library. So depending on when you are listening to this, you may or may not actually be able to join it. I closed enrollment for the library, and I'm going to open it basically when we do one of these cohorts. And I had heard a long time ago that I should close enrollment, but I kind of put it off as like, that just feels arbitrary. But then I realized something, and that is that it's a much better experience for people who join the library when they join at the beginning of one of these cohorts, because there's a whole bunch of people there that are new. They're all posting about, hey, this is who I am, what I'm hoping to get out of it. They're all going through this stuff together. And those are the people who really get more out of the experience. So I think that's what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically just close it and then open it periodically when I do one of these cohorts. So the life theme cohort, the practical PKM cohort, stuff like that. The life theme cohort is the next one that's going to happen. It's going to start April 6th. So probably about a week before that, I will open up enrollment to the library again. And if you want to join or join the wait list, if it's not currently open, just go to library.practicalpkm.com. The cost for the cohort, by the way, I don't charge a bunch of money to join the cohort. You just need to be a library member. And the cost of the library, the pro tier, which is the one that has access to the cohorts, I'm selling at $49 a month, but you pay quarterly. So it's $147. You will not find another cohort on the internet for $147. So you join that, and then you can cancel at any time after that. But you get access to everything, not just the live cohort, but all my courses, Life HQ, all that kind of stuff as well.
Wonderful. All right, you ready to get into a book?
Let's do it. Let's talk about The Coaching Habit.
All right, so The Coaching Habit is our book for today. This book is by Michael Bungay Stanier. The full title of the book is The Coaching Habit: Say Less, Ask More, Change the Way You Lead Forever. The book is from 2016, and it comes out of the work that he and his team do with managers and helping managers think about how to coach. And then there is a consulting firm called Box of Crayons that is referenced a lot of times in the book. That
Coolest
clearly,
name ever for a consulting firm, by the way.
It really is a cool name. I actually went and looked up Box of Crayons just because I was like, man, this has to be a cool place. Which they've got like 1.5 million coaches. If you look at like their list of coaches, it's crazy how many they have. But that's where this book comes from. And the book essentially is this idea of, okay, if we're going to lead people, if we're going to coach people, if we're going to get into these interactions with people, it's what it says on the tin. I mean, it's, hey, you're talking too much. You're trying to solve too many problems. You need to just ask people more questions. Not to like go too far too fast, but I mean, it's 7 questions, and the whole book is structured around these 7 questions and an introduction and a conclusion. And it's a very straightforward book. It's a very cookie cutter, but I don't mean it in a bad way. Like the chapters are very cookie cutter. Like they are.
Yeah, people like cookies.
Yeah. I mean, like it is exactly like that. If you read the first chapter, you know what you're going to get in the rest of it. Mike, one of the things we didn't talk about before we started the recording was, I think this book would be best to take as in like we lump together the question masterclass little chunk and the chapter, right? Like, so we just treat those all as one thing. Okay.
I agree. What I'll do, if you're okay with it for the recording, is I will just bundle it all under the questions So like the kickstart question, the awe
That's great.
question, etc. Okay.
Yeah, that's great. Because that's really what everything's structured around is these different questions.
Yep.
But that is kind of the gist of the book. It is not a long book at all. It is a very quick read because a decent chunk of each chapter is like you thinking through these things. And I can't remember for the life of me right now. It's like when this happens instead of I will. And you actually think through this kind of like mechanism, that way you're practicing at the end of each chapter. So with that being said, I don't have anything else to say to intro to book. I don't know if you want to do anything else to intro the book. We can move right into
Well,
the
I
intro.
can share a little bit of history that I have with this book.
Oh, okay.
So I was recommended this book when I took the integrator position at the digital marketing agency because I had different people who were heads of different teams that I was responsible for leading and coaching on a regular basis. And so the intention was I would read this book and that it would help me become a better leader for the people on those teams. I think that happened, but also I feel like the situation that I walked into was a little bit difficult. So it wasn't as simple to apply as he makes it sound in the book.
Okay.
Okay. There were definitely some things people were, I don't know how to explain it. Like they had some conditioned behaviors which were in contrast to the principles that were taught in this book. So
Okay.
when I went to apply this stuff, I found a lot more resistance than I had anticipated.
Interesting.
I don't know if that is just general, like if you were to take this and start using this in your academic university setting,
Mhm.
okay, if you're going to have the same sort of experience, or if there is a situation where you can really apply this as easy as he's going to make it sound.
Yeah.
But my thought is that is possible.
Yeah. Yeah. He gives, as you're talking about that, he gives like examples or like further like videos and stuff that you can follow or you can go to his website and look at just to make sure everybody knows and make sure Mike knows. I did not have a chance to go do those things. So I read the chapters, but I did not go into the extension stuff. Mike, I don't know if you did or not, go into the things on his website.
No, I did not. I actually tried to get to one of the resources that he mentioned somewhere. I don't
Yeah.
remember if it was just like mentioned in passing in the chapter or if it was one of those official things that he had at the end.
Yeah.
But it actually now just forwards to like a big general CTA, which isn't necessarily connected to the coaching habit, which I guess is kind of to be expected because I don't remember when this was written, but it was several years ago.
2016, right? So, and this is
Yeah.
one of the things I think about if you ever write a book and you're going to link people out to something, you've just signed yourself up to maintain that for a really long time and or forever. So it's like that's a big burden, if you will, or a big responsibility that like I never thought about that until right now, until we started talking about this. Like, man, if you link people out to a resource, that resource has to exist then, or you look kind of silly. So
Yeah, so one of the best versions of this, I think, is Jenny Blake, Free Time. It's one of the books on the invisible bookshelf behind me.
Yeah.
She's got like this toolkit that she mentions in her book, and she maintains that toolkit, but she doesn't maintain the specific resources that she mentions in the book. Those are free to change. That was actually the inspiration for me when I built out the starter vault for Obsidian, because I have my YouTube channel. I talk about these Obsidian workflows. I'm working on a video right now, for example, on templates, and surprise, surprise, all the templates are available inside of the Obsidian starter vault.
Yep.
But that way, if any of those templates change, I just update the template, throw it in there. I don't have to update the specific video on the page and update all the copy on the page. I did some of that stuff initially, but that's, I think, a better way to approach it is like a collection of these things that you can just maintain the collection.
That's super smart. Yeah, super smart. All right, Mike, let's get into it. Let's get into the introduction, which is not called introduction in this book. It is a statement. where the author tells us that we all need a coaching habit. So you need a coaching habit. So the nature of this book is basically just to ground the motivation of the book, why I wrote this book. He refers, and one of the things that we're going to see throughout the book is a refer to social psychology, or refer to management, or refer to Harvard Business Review. And like, he's going to refer to a lot of research that's like sometimes academic research and sometimes just management research, like different things that are done for publications or whatever it might be. You find out fairly quickly that like there is a researcher on this team. So like this makes sense why this research was like naturally there. Like they're, like, oh, we already did this research. I'm putting this into a book. We already did this research. I'm going to include this into the book. So he's motivating the book. He's telling you about his company, Box of Crayons, and basically trying to drive home. And essentially what he talks about is the fact that the reason you need to build this coaching habit is to get out of or break through these 3 circles. So circle 1 would be creating overdependence, where people are overdependent on you to do things for them. Circle 2 would be getting overwhelmed, and that like no matter what you do, like you're going to get overwhelmed. And the coaching habit allows you to kind of like do what you need to do and focus and help your team focus as well, I guess is the way I'm trying to say it. It's kind of a you and the team thing, which is a little bit different one. And then the other one is becoming disconnected. And essentially it's the idea that like the more and more we get into this, the more and more we kind of feel, disconnected from that work, or we get distracted from it. So those are the 3 reasons why we say we need this coaching habit. I can't tell you that like I thought any one of these was like overwhelming and dramatic, but good. Like I get it. Like that's these are things managers have to deal with, and these are things leaders have to deal with. So, okay, I'm in.
Yeah, the vicious circles never really resonated with me. The thing that I resonated with most in this beginning section was that the essence of coaching lies in helping others and unlocking their potential. I mean, my life theme, talked about the life theme cohort a little bit earlier. Like life theme is a personal mission statement, and mine is I help people multiply their time and talent, leave a bigger dent in the universe. So yes, I'm in. Let's coach.
You are a coach, right? Like, so what does Mike do? He coaches, and he does a bunch of other stuff, but he also coaches.
One thing that's worth mentioning here, there's a note I have here that you can coach someone in 10 minutes or less. So coaching isn't like it has to be a 60-minute session. You can do this in bite-sized little chunks, which I think is an important point to keep in mind as we go through the rest of this.
Yep. Now, I have this kind of called out as another section. I can't remember how exactly he structured this, but you get to the 7 essential questions right away, right? So in this, you need a coaching habit. You get to the 7 essential questions. Mike, you can correct me if it was its own chapter or not. I don't remember if it was its own chapter or not as we're working through this.
So the outline I've got here is the how to create a coaching habit, right? And then there is a short section on how to create a habit. We should probably talk about that briefly. And then there's the mind map gets weird then, because there's the questions and then there is the question masterclass. And so there's like the first question, and then the question masterclass comes immediately after that. It's usually just a couple pages, and then it goes on to the next one. So like
so I didn't even acknowledge the how to build a habit section, right? Like I was just like, oh yeah, okay, how to build a habit, because he hits on Clear and BJ Fogg, and he hits on the things that need to be hit on there. So those were kind of old hat to you and I who have read about those a lot. But if you're interested, he does, I think, hit the big names in the habit space there.
Well, I think it's worth calling out because he's got 5 essential components to build a new habit, which that, I could take or leave. But he does have his new habit formula, and this he references in all of the question masterclass stuff. I'm not sure if you picked up on that.
Yeah, okay.
So he says, when this happens, ... That's the first part. Instead of ... I will ... And so that's the framing he uses for all of the question masterclass stuff. I think it's all of them, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. It's definitely all of them. They're all the same.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. Yeah. So we'll probably reference that when we get to those question master classes, but that's probably all we need say about how to create a habit.
Okay. And then the 7 questions, just to hit them here, and then we'll hit them in each chapter. But they're the kickstart question, the awe question, the focus question, the foundation question, the lazy question, the strategic question, the learning, and then the learning question. These are the 7 questions that he says allow you to coach effectively, and that basically are part of the coaching habit as we work through this. So overall, in terms of the introduction chapter in motivating me to care about this, good. But I'll clearly say that like I was in to begin with, right? Like, I mean, a lot of what I do is coaching. So like he didn't really have to motivate me very hard in this. I think the bigger thing that he did in this is he established a reason why I should listen to him. Like, when I got done reading this, this first introduction section, I said, okay, this guy's worth me paying attention to, and we'll see how this goes from here. So did it like change anything in like my existing thinking? No, but it solidified the first part of the book for me.
All right. Ready to talk about the questions then?
Yeah. Okay. So the way Mike described it a little bit, we've talked about it a little bit. So it's going to be, there's a question masterclass. We're not really going to talk about that all that much, but this exists for each of the next chapters. It'll say question masterclass, and it'll say ask one question at a time. And then it'll work through when this happens instead of I will. But they're super short, right? Like, so they are not long at all. They really are meant to hit a point. The example of this, I'll give it to you in this first one. The example of this is, here's your new habit. When this happens, after I've asked the question, instead of adding another question, and then another question and another question, I will ask just one question. So his masterclass is ask one question at a time, and that's how he works you through that. The meat of the chapters, or the meat of each of these sections, is really the kickstart question, and then he'll say in which you discover the power of the opening question, and it gets the conversation happening fast and deep. Like, that's the meat of these chapters. So Mike, I'm gonna push us in that direction.
Yep.
But feel
Sounds
free
good.
feel free to call us out on any of the stuff that comes out of the question masterclass.
Yeah, and I think the thing we really should hit on for each of these is what the question actually is, because there's a specific question for each one of these.
Yep. Okay. All right, great. So number 1, the kickstart question. When we discover that the power of an opening question, and gets the conversation started. So just to not bury the lead, what's on your mind? So the kickstart question is what's on your mind. And he said the reason why this is going to be an effective question is because it's going to get you out of small talk. So he has these like clever little quippy things, the small talk tango, the ossified agenda, and the default diagnosis. And he's saying this quick start question, what's on your mind, gets you out of those. And he's by no means saying that those things are terrible, the small talk tango, the ossified agenda, default diagnosis, but he's saying get to it. Like, there's a reason why you're meeting. Just ask the person, what do you want to talk about? Like, what's on your mind? Like, what's going on? So he breaks down the 3 things you're trying to overcome. I like the idea that in this section, he calls out the fact that there's coaching for performance and coaching for development, and that those two are 2 different things. Coaching for performance is about addressing and fixing a specific problem. You're doing this wrong. Let's address that. And then coaching for development is like, here's just an opportunity to get better, or here's an opportunity to grow, or here's an opportunity, to whatever it might be. And I like that he calls out those. The last thing, and then I'll turn it over to Mike. He talks about the 3 Ps, and he's got a 3P model that's projects, people, and patterns. So there's the project, which is the content of a situation, the stuff that's being worked on. There are the people. Okay, are we talking about the people around what's being worked on? And then there's the patterns, is like we're looking for behaviors or ways to work. So if you think about starting this off as what's on your mind, he said expect to get something about a project, something about the people, or something about the patterns of things that are happening. And that's essentially the nature of this first chapter and this first key question for us.
You hit everything that I had in my outline.
Nice.
Yeah, the big thing for me, I think, was the 2 different types of coaching. And I could probably do a better job of asking myself what kind of coaching is necessary in this specific situation. I think I tend to default towards the coaching for performance, where the focus is the problem to be solved, instead of coaching for development. So I don't have an action item associated with this particular chapter, but if I did, that's what it would be.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that came out of this chapter for me was I would have never been able to say this on my own, but like small talk tango, ossified agenda. So that's probably the most confusing one. Basically, it's just this report of what we've done or what we're going, and it's like so boring. It's so boring. Like all we're doing is going through the agenda. And then the default diagnosis is basically we don't actually think about what's going on. We actually just try to solve the default issue. I think those three things were the most important things that came out of this to me is the what's on your mind doesn't assume anything. It actually has the person that you're trying to coach tell you. And I think this, as a professor, surprise, surprise, right? Like I talk a lot, so I am comfortable talking a lot. But it reminded me, it's like, Cory, shut up. Like let them tell you what's on their mind. And that was the big takeaway for me. All right, I'm ready to move on to 2 if you are.
Yeah, let's do it. Second, I mean, to kick off the second one?
Yeah, dude.
We could probably just go back and forth with this one if you want to tackle it that way.
I'm great with that. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So the second question is the AWE question, AWE, and it literally means and what else? Mm-hmm. And this one I think is pretty brilliant. Mm-hmm. There's different reasons for impact that he talks about in here where you create more options that can lead to better decisions. You win yourself. Actually, that one is messed up in my outline. I need to fix that. You buy yourself time. But this is something that I recognize I fall into is once I feel like I've gotten enough context, it's go into problem solving mode.
Me too. Yep.
And so this is where one of my action items comes in is to start asking this when I'm doing coaching specifically in the library, because I want to start doing a couple different types of coaching. One, I do want to offer some individual one-on-one coaching for specifically people in that Creator Business Accelerator who want the additional help. But I also have this hot seat coaching in there where basically you can book a free 30-minute coaching call essentially on the pro tier if you're willing to let other people show up and they're kind of like silent observers in the chat, and then I can share the results of that coaching call, like the video and the audio I can publish via the podcast, the private podcast feed, stuff like that, so that other people can benefit from it.
That's great.
I feel like this is something that will help me a lot in terms of being a better coach in those 2 specific scenarios, and to avoid the advice monster, which is that urge to always give advice.
So this is something that you just like the last comment that you said. I like this guy's style in terms of like the small talk tango, the advice monster. It's creative, but it doesn't push it too far. Like it's not like he was trying too hard. I just like the style of the way this book was written, and I think that works out. I think you brought up all the good points in terms of working with other people about the AWE question, but I think you can use the AWE question internally too. Oh, like I'm working on a new project, and what else? Like, okay, I'm thinking about this thing, and what else? And what else? And what else? And it's like this can really reveal some stuff. So you think about creating a life theme. Oh, this is what I think my life theme. And what else? Oh, well, I'm really interested in this as well. And what else? And then you refine that down. Like what a good thing to ask. I don't like it's called the AWE question. I actually don't. That's the biggest part of it I don't like, but I'm not willing to like knock it because of that too much, because the and what else makes so much sense that I think it works out really well.
Yeah, there's one other thing from this that I liked, which is that binary choices typically have a failure rate of over 50%. Mm-hmm. So what this question naturally does is it gets you to consider the other options that are available. So the more options that you have, I feel like the more likely you are to make a positive or accurate, good decision.
Yep. All right, let's move on to 3. In the 3rd chapter, it's called the focus question, in which you find out how to stop spending so much time and effort solving the wrong problems. I think this one is pretty self-explanatory. We can work in this all day long, and if we're looking at the wrong thing, what are we doing? We're trying to solve the wrong problem. This gets me to one of the interesting nuances of this book. He pitches this book as the coaching habit, and everything is wrapped around coaching. My thing is like, I think these questions are just good. Like, I think they're just good, interesting questions. So if you think about like the kickstart question, um, and you come into it as like, what's on your mind? I can ask this to me, right? Like if I think about the awe question, I can ask this to me. You know, if I think about this third question, the focus question, which is, sorry, I buried the lead on what the actual question was, is what's the real challenge for you? Oh, I can ask this to me. Like, this is pitched as a coaching book, but it's, I think, more than that. Like, I almost think like pitching it as just a coaching book is a disservice to the possible value of these 7 questions and their application. And I didn't realize that until like I went through it the second time. Like as I was prepping for the show, I was like thinking about like the different questions. I was like, oh, this is like way more than just a coaching book. Like this is, or at least these questions are way more. Anyhow, so what does this question ask you? What's the real challenge here for you? It's a solution to the proliferation. I can't say that. Proliferation. You and I are both having trouble with words today, Mike. Of challenges. So that's when like you get into there and people are just like spewing off, this is wrong and this is wrong and this is wrong and this is the problem and this is the problem and this is the problem. And you like redirect them and you say, hey, what's the real challenge for you? Like yeah, you're listing all these negatives, but what's the real challenge for you? And then he said it's a solution to what's called the coaching ghost, right? Where basically they're like off on a tangent talking about some mythical person and or like some like thing that's not really relevant, and it brings them back into and he quotes here, I think I understand what's going on with so and so, this ghost person, but what's the real challenge here for you, right? Like, so you're not just venting about somebody else. And then the last one would be abstract comments and overgeneralizations. It brings it back to the person who you're coaching. The key phrase here, he would say, is for you. And he said that when you add the for you into that question, it completely changes the nature of the question, because then people stop doing all of these general things and they start actually giving you their take on it. And then you can actually be actionable on it. Again, I think, I mean, I'm going to say this the entire, I think this is a really solid, I see how this is applicable. I see how it's applicable to me and to the people that I'm coaching. Like, I think it's really, really cool.
Yeah, and this is interesting because the key here, you mentioned the question, which is what is the real challenge here for you, but the key is for you. So if you are coaching other people, I think it's real easy to eliminate that part and be like, oh, well, I know what the real issue is. Yep. I know what the real challenge is. No, it's for that specific person. What is the challenge that they are facing? And I like this because the problem at hand, he mentions, usually isn't the real problem. It could be a symptom. It could be a secondary issue. It could be a ghost of a previous problem. I love the definition of that. Or it could be a half-baked solution to an unarticulated issue. Can't tell you how many times I saw that.
Yep.
So
absolutely.
Yeah, this book is brilliant in its simplicity, and it's easy to look at it. And especially when you read through some of this stuff and you see the questions that they share, and like, this could be a 2,000 word blog post, and maybe it could. And in fact, a lot of the design of the book, it's not very long. You can crank through this book pretty quick.
Real easy.
But applying it is much more difficult. I feel like this is the perfect approach for a book like this, where it's giving you some formulaic stuff to actually go apply. You really just got to have a simple framework that you can follow, get some mileage with it, and then tweak it for yourself.
Yep. All right, I'm ready to head to the next one.
All right. Next one is the foundation question. And this one is, what do you want? One of the things that I really like about this section is that in an adult to adult relationship, he defines this. One is one where you are able to ask for what you want, knowing that the answer may be no. I mean, this sounds so obvious, but I can't tell you how rare this is. I don't, it kind of boggles my mind, because I am a very, I don't know, like, I don't feel like I'm a jerk about things, but I also have no time for people who are not going to be direct.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually was in a mastermind group with some people, and one of them said, I just appreciate how direct you are. And it was when I was like, okay, we're all thinking this, so I'm just going to say it. I forget
Yep.
what the specific thing was. It's like, we're all here as business owners in this mastermind group, and no one wants to just say the thing that's going to let us not waste the next 30 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
I don't understand that, but it's true, especially when you are working with other people and you're trying to coach them. You can't be a jerk. You have to consider the relationships and things like that. But I feel like establishing this as the baseline is like the very first thing you need to do if you're going to be in a coaching relationship. And I just appreciate the fact that he called that out, because I feel like it's everyone on the surface would be like, oh yeah, I understand that. But then you get in one of these coaching calls and you feel like you're walking on eggshells, and you really like don't know what you can say, what you can't say. Let's just set the parameters, and it's just gonna make everything else so much easier.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. He makes some interesting distinctions in this section. So I'm going to bounce between, this is one of the ones where I'm actually going to bounce to the masterclass part. So he calls out Simon Sinek. He calls out the 5 Whys guy. I can't remember who wrote the 5 Whys. Do you remember or not? Okay. So
I remember the principle. I'm blanking on who it was though.
And he basically says, okay, why questions are okay, right? Like they're fine, but you really need to ask what questions. And my 7 questions are what questions, right? Like, and he calls out that it reframes it to, I guess, more doing, right? And less about like the root of the thing where then no action happens. And it actually becomes well, what do you want? Because now we're going to actually turn that into doing, or, and I just thought that was a really interesting call out and distinction to make, because I'd always heard about like the 5 Whys or start with why, or, whatever it is. It's like, that's important. But at the same time, we also need to move to action. And when we're trying to coach, and we're trying to coach for development, and we're trying to coach for performance, we do need to move to action fairly quickly. So I thought that was good.
Yeah, agreed. And then the other thing with this is that he mentions that 5 times a second your brain is scanning to see if it's safe. Mm-hmm. And there are different ways that your brain reads any situation, and the foundation question actually builds on all 4 of these. There's the tribe, which is really, are you with me or are you against me? There's the expectation, do I know the future or don't I? There's the rank, are you more or less important than I am? And then there's autonomy, do I get a say or don't I?
Yep.
I don't think there's necessarily anything I'm going to apply with that, but it is kind of interesting when he explains those. You can kind of see the origin of some of the motivations behind maybe some of the ways that coaching conversations have played out in the past. And I feel like that is going to be implicitly the valuable thing going forward with this is maybe a little bit unique about this book. You don't just like apply all of these 7 questions and all of the different ways that he gives them to you in this book. You have to, as you put them into practice, like the way that they get implemented is very personal, is very unique, I feel. So even though he gives you the exact words to say for some of these questions, like the way that it gets manifested is different for every single person that's going to read this. And so after you read it, you start to recognize the patterns from previous conversations that you've had. And then just recognizing that, I feel, sets the stage for the next one to be better. And so it's kind of a great situation here in terms of gleaning benefit from having read this.
Yeah. I think this ties back in to the masterclass part of this, because you described it. There's a difference between somebody who knows the 7 questions and then who's somebody who's good or is a master at incorporating these into coaching. And by no means will you get that from reading this book. Like you will not go from knowing the 7 to mastering this just by reading this book. But he does introduce you to trying to advance in your development through the when this happens instead of I will. Because what it's forcing you to do is it's forcing you to think about the times when it's happened and what you've done and then what you'll do differently and why you would do those things. So it's like he's pushing you towards that becoming more master without everybody kind of knowing. And I don't remember if he called it out or not in the intro or the conclusion, with everybody knowing, like, really, like the way you become a master at these, you apply the 7 questions a million times, right? Like you apply it 10,000 times with a bunch of people and then you get better at it.
Yep.
The only other one that would come out from this chapter, I thought this was like a more meaty chapter, was he talks about the difference between wants and needs.
Oh yeah.
And really driving home that like wants are these surface requests. They're tactical, essentially like, oh, I want you to solve this problem for me, right? Where needs go deeper and it helps you like understand more about what's happening. Well, okay, you want me to solve this problem, but like there's a need back there. You need more skill in this area. Oh, so if I'm going to coach you, it's really not about solving this problem. It's about helping you get the skill you need to where you don't have to come to me next time for that thing. You've got what you need to do that. And I thought that was a really valuable distinction.
Yeah, there's also my favorite quote of all time from George Bernard Shaw, which says that the single biggest problem with communication is the illusion that it has taken place.
That is taking place. Yep. Yeah, it's a good one. It's a really good one. All right, you ready to go to 5?
Let's do it.
All right, we're getting comfortable with silence now. All right, this is the lazy question. And I don't know if he doesn't call this one out as closely or if I had like a mental block, because like I don't have a statement here that says the lazy question is, blah, 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 like I do for all the other chapters, but I might have just missed it.
I do have that one. It's,
okay, cool.
How can I help?
I got it later in the chapter, but I didn't grab it like when I was reading it, and I had done it for everything else. So it's how can I help? And the basic reason why it's the lazy question is because you then don't have to try to figure out how you can help. You are allowing them to tell you exactly what they want you to do to help. And then you can make the choice about whether or not that's the right thing to do or whether you're going to do that. But it's this idea of like, it takes the ambiguity out of it. And there's a statement he makes in there. Too much of your day is spent doing things you think people want you to do. More dangerous is when you're only slightly wrong, right? Like, so it's like, oh, I was really close to helping you, except I was off by just a little bit. And like this one actually, Mike, makes me cringe a little bit when I think about this one, because it's like, how many times am I trying to help a student or trying to help a colleague? And they're like, but like you're close, but no, that's really not what I need. And it's like, I really just wish I would have said, all right, how can I help you? Like, what do you want me to do? And then I can tell you whether I can do that or not, or I can tell you whether that's appropriate or not. And I just think, like, again, it's just another really, really good question. I don't know if you want to talk about the 7 dwarfs or the Cartman triangle or not, but.
Well, the drama triangle I think is good. And the major point, which I think is pretty profound, is that if you just offer help unsolicited, what happens is you elevate your status and you lower the other person's.
Yeah.
So the drama triangle he mentions has 3 roles: victim, persecutor, and rescuer. So if you are trying to honestly help someone and you are proactively offering help, it can actually backfire and work against you. So this was a little bit of an aha moment for me when I read this the first time, was recognizing like, well, I'm trying to help them. I'm setting this all up so that they can be successful. Don't they appreciate this? And I get it now. No, they don't, because I'm not giving them the opportunity to ask for the help themselves or to do it themselves. I am becoming the rescuer and elevating my status, and they're feeling like I'm speaking down to them and all that kind of stuff. So when you ask, how can I help? Or a more direct version he says is, what do you want from me? You're allowing them to initiate and say exactly what it is that they want you to do. When they do that, then you have 4 different options for responses that are available to you. You can say yes, you can say no, I can't do that. You can say I can't do that, but I can do something else, or you can say let me think about it. And I feel like while this seems overly simplified, it is 100% true. And so really, as I'm thinking about this, I'm realizing that I make stuff way too complicated. And I should really just be asking them, okay, so what is it that you really want me to do here? And then we can go from there instead of trying to read minds and fill in the blanks.
You said it before, and then you just reminded me of it right here. There's something in this book that's like the beauty of the simplicity of it. Like there's just something there that like, I mean, it might turn other people off. Other people might say, like, I could see us reading a similar version of this book and saying like, wow, this guy's just way off, right? Like, absolutely way off, not hitting any of the things. But in this one, it's like, there's a beauty in the simplicity. So I mean, I'm resonating so far. But question 6, is that yours or is that mine? I think it's yours.
That's me. All right. So question 6 is the strategic question, which is, if you're saying yes to this, what are you saying no to? That's pretty brilliant. And I like this approach. This is something I think that I kind of naturally think about a lot, but I like the way that he packages this. There's a whole section in here where he talks about things that are true but useless. And I love this. This is actually one of my action items from this. Okay. It's a good busy, work smarter, not harder, be more strategic. Those are all true but useless statements. So I want to actually ban it's a good busy.
That one hit me too. Like the exact same one hit me.
Yeah, I feel like I end up saying that way too often. Talks about how there's 2 types of no's. There's a no of omission, and then there's a no of commission. So no of omission means that I'm not going to do this just because I didn't think about it. And I feel like if you find yourself getting overly busy, this is the one that happens a lot. You're not actively saying, no, I'm not going to spend time with my family. I'm not going to sit down and eat dinner, but you will if you just continue to respond to the emails that show up in your email inbox, right? And then there's the no of commission, which is where you actively, intentionally say, no, I'm not going to do these things. But the key principle here is that you are constantly saying no to things. And so if you if this question is really just designed to get you to recognize that. And if you don't like the fact that you are saying no to certain things, then maybe you should stop saying yes to certain things.
Yep.
Mentions that a yes is nothing without the no that gives it boundaries and form. And I think that's pretty a pretty profound statement there. We really need to be specific, and we really need to mean it when we say yes to things. We can't just make yes the default. It has to be the exception.
Yeah. The tie between, stopping thinking to just, I'm going to say yes to this, but like with every yes, there's a no. With every, like they're attached together, they're linked together. Because I don't ever think about all the no's that go along with my yeses, and like that's a huge one. I would love to make that an action item. I just don't know how. Like I don't know how to make that an action item of like, okay, every time I say yes, do I have to like go into Obsidian and write down all the corollary no's that are going to come along with this? That would work, but I don't think I'm going to do it. Like, but I think that would actually be a really effective strategy before I would say yes to any new thing.
Well, I think one of the ways that you can make sure that that this is working is just to like keep a log of the things that you actually say no to.
Yeah.
My Focus co-host David Sparks even created an app for this called the No List.
The No List. Yep. Yeah.
So I think that's a good barometer maybe for if you're achieving balance with this. But the other thing I wanted to mention with this is like yeses, the way you were describing this, I felt like it very much was in alignment with the way people say yes to too many things is sort of the way that people have too many priorities. They're probably correlated. And I remember when I read Essentialism by Greg McKeown, he actually defined priority, and it's like the first or prior thing. It's singular, it's not multiple. So all of these task managers, for example, that have the multiple levels of priority, they just drive me crazy because that's not what that word means. That's actually impossible. If you have more than one priority, you have no priorities.
You have no priorities. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. The last thing I'll pull out of this chapter was he gets into strategy a little bit here, and I get my attention raises anytime somebody says like, okay, here's this concept called strategy, and if you were going to listen to anything about strategy, or if you were going to read one book on strategy, I always go, if somebody's willing to make like that strong of a statement, like this is the thing to do on this. And he talks about Roger Martin and A.G. Lafley's Playing to Win. Mike, have you read that book? Do you have that book?
I think I have that book, but I haven't read it yet.
Okay. So I put that in my like list of, okay, like at some point when I'm interested in strategy or when I want to go strategy more, if this guy's saying it's, and again, he's built up this credibility with me. I would not do this with just like every random person. I'm not Mike Schmitz. I mean, I'm not just going to say like somebody recommends a book to me and I just go out and buy it. Like, sorry, like that's just, that's crazy. But he then calls out, they break strategy down into 5 core questions. Winning aspiration, and they're all, 4 out of the 5 are what's and 1 is a how.
Yeah.
So what's our winning aspiration? What impact do you want to have in the world? Where will we play? How will we win? And then what management systems are required? Like, I just think those are interesting questions around strategy that this seems to check out, right? Like, oh, okay, that would be an interesting book to read. If we're going to look at those 5 questions and we're going to analyze those from a strategy perspective, I think that would be a cool book to read. So I added one to the possible reading list for Bookworm down in the future, but not anytime soon.
All right.
Our last question is chapter 7. It's the learning question. And this question is very, very simple. What was most useful? Right? So, when you get done, you ask the what was most useful question. Here he's talking about a concept called double loop learning, where basically you learn the thing and then you kind of like relearn it or make connections. In my world, and I think he talks about, he uses this language as well, but like we would think about this as reflection. So we're going to come in and it's like, okay, you just did this design project. You just did this report. You just did whatever. Let's reflect on what you learned. Like, let's consider the things that you got out of this. What could have gone better? What could have gone worse? If you know anything about like Agile Scrum and the sprint process and all of that stuff, you have this intentional built-in session at the end of Agile Scrum that is like lessons learned, and you're going back through this. So he talks about it in terms of double loop learning, and then he also talks about it in terms of like the ages model, where you have attention, generation, emotion, and spacing, where this creating and sharing and then revisiting different things is one of the things he'll bring back in. I think the last thing I'll say about this one is that it helps in 6 different ways. I'm not going to go through all 6 of the ways that he said that this what was most useful helps, but I liked this. Like, I thought this was good. Feedback, judgment, it personalizes it. I think this question is more effective if I'm being very critical here, and I don't mean that in a bad way. What was most useful for you? Right? Like, so if you added the for you there, I think that makes that question stronger. So what was most useful for you?
Yeah, I like that. He also mentions the OBT, the one big thing, which is worth remembering. I think this is a cool concept. So I do something a little bit different, but sort of related when I bring my book notes into Obsidian, is I will force myself to write a 3-sentence summary of the entire book at the top, which is really just, okay, I've gone through all this stuff, and even when I bring those things over, I've reread all my notes. There's a lot here. How do I condense this down into something that is like the elevator pitch version of this so that it has a much better chance of sticking around?
Yeah.
I feel like it's easy to, if you're going to do a coaching call, for example, or a coaching meeting, even if it's a 10-minute meeting, you may have a lot of notes that you've taken. And at that point, you've got this list of notes. You stick it in Notion or something, so you've got a record of it. We can follow up on all these action items, right? But people will not do anything with it. You will have the same conversation the next time around.
I've been there. Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah. So I feel like, again, pretty brilliant as we're walking away from this. What is the one big takeaway that you're going to do something with? And if that was the only thing that you took action on from the whole coaching call, but you did that every single time you had a meeting, how different would your meetings be?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. So Mike, this is where I need to ask you how you want to handle this use every channel to ask a question.
Yeah.
I didn't get a lot on this. I get it. And I understand that essentially it's, it doesn't have to be a one-on-one face-to-face kind of meeting where I'm asking you these questions verbally. I can do this via email. I didn't get much other than that. Like, don't ever hesitate to ask a question is basically my takeaway from this last masterclass. It's like, just ask, always ask, no matter how you need to ask.
So this is, the when I instead of I will. The format I have for this is when I get an email message that triggers the advice monster, instead of writing out a long, thorough answer, I will ask one of the 7 questions. I think that encapsulates it perfectly. So he's given us these 7 questions, and I think in certain scenarios, you could just work through all of these 7 questions in a single session. But the brilliance of this is that he's assuming you're going to have regular back and forth conversation, whether it is via email or via Slack, from people that you work with on a regular basis. And they're going to ask you for things. And based on the context, you can use one of these 7 questions to kind of flip the script on the way that conversation is going and make it a much more productive conversation. Yeah. So this is, again, brilliant. I'm overusing the word brilliant, but this is great because I remember when I was in the digital marketing agency, there's, I don't like the term managing from below, but that's really what it kind of is like, you're not trying to manipulate the people above you, but you recognize that, there's people in positions where they're focused on their objectives and they're the boss. So they just ask for things. And it's kind of, you may agree with things in certain scenarios, but you kind of don't understand how it impacts the person that you're making that request to on a day-to-day basis. If the CEO asks you to do something, even though we've all agreed we're only going to check our Slack messages a couple times a day, once in the morning, once in the afternoon, so we can focus on the important work. If the boss asks me for something, I feel like I got to get back to him right away. Yeah. Right. So it's like all the norms, all the conventions, all the rules get broken unless you've really got a culture that's reinforced that stuff. And no, this is the way that we play by the rules that we play by, and everybody plays by those same rules. So if you find yourself in a position where it's like they're asking me to do this thing and it feels like I want to do this thing because they're asking me to do it, but also, this isn't really the best use of my time, energy, and attention right now. Sort of the way out of that is to just throw it back at them by asking one of these questions. So I feel like this short little section, for most people who are not at the top of the organizational chart, this is where you get the most benefit from this entire book, because you can instantly start doing this.
Yeah. Okay, so we go to the conclusion, or so we're in the conclusion right now. So now we're officially properly in the conclusion, and he says words here that I think are very, very valuable, and I think he's said them before, but they stuck more with me here, where he's talking about training managers to be more coach-like, and I think about management. And I think about managers, and I think about managers getting burned out, and managers being like, all I do is go to meetings, and managers being, all I do is solve other people's problems. All I do is put out fires. All I do is. And I can't help but think, Mike, that like, if you do this, he says the real secret sauce here is building curiosity. Okay, like that's a way to that's a perspective on this. You're really teaching people how to solve their own problems. And you're teaching people to get better at solving their own problems, and you're coaching them to then go do that, which means this gets you out of the I've been putting out fires all day, and it gets you more into the I've coached and taught people how to put out their own fires. I've coached and taught people how to bring me solutions to where now as manager or as leader, my job is to make the final decision because the person can't. Like they, for whatever reason, whether their role or, whatever it is, they can't. Or they realized in their solution after they've solved this, they need me to do this. Like they need my help to go and solicit to the people above me or whatever it might be. Like, I just can't help but think that it's like these, and again, I don't know if these 7 questions are the best 7 questions in the world, but I can tell you, like, I see the logical chain. I see the argument here that says the reason why this is so effective is because it puts more of the agency on the people to do their own thing. It takes them less on depending on me. And that's what I want to do as a coach. I want to make you better at doing the job, and then I can do my job more effectively. And I'm just like, I mean, I know like I was just like, oh my gosh, this just makes sense. Like, this is like like, this is cool. Like, I like this. So like that was a big thing that came out of the conclusion for me.
Yeah. There's 5 different points that he mentions many coaching conversations have. And this, I think, really articulates the pain that a lot of coaches, managers, leaders will experience. Too much baggage, too much certainty, wander off path too quickly, work way too hard to get back on the path, and exhaustion at the end. I felt that for sure. Yep. And I think the 7 questions that he gives you here, plus the using every channel to ask a question, this is addressing the major issue that you were just describing, where if you are in a management position, let's just say you're maybe not even a business owner, like there are people that you work with, but if you have trouble delegating, it's probably because you feel like you can do it better or you can do it quicker than it would take you to give it to somebody else to do. Okay, so step 1 is recognizing I can't do all of this myself. I'm going to delegate it. What happens when you start delegating it, though, is that people have questions. And that's where the advice monster stuff is really easy to fall into. So what he does here is I think he gives you the quickest, most efficient way to navigate that to the point where you are now no longer required to do the thing.
Yeah.
Because that's really hard to do. But if I were to summarize all of the advice in this book, it's basically don't offer advice, just ask questions, just ask these questions all the time. And then at the end of this section, he talks about how you do need to find your own questions and find your own voice. But the real secret sauce, he says, is building that habit of curiosity. If you are trying to affect organizational change, this is what you do. This makes the biggest impact, is you build that habit of curiosity and you empower the people to do the things that you need them to do. And if they need help, you let them ask for help, or you use that question, how can I help you? What is it that you want me to do for you? That sort of thing. But you don't just jump in, Superman, try to save the day, because that just makes it harder, and it's going to take longer to get to the point where things are actually clicking.
Absolutely. Did you see at the end of this chapter where he basically gave the bookworm reading list?
Oh, I don't remember that. No.
He's like, if you could read a book on self-management, blah, 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 blah.
Oh,
he
yeah.
lists these books. If you could read a book on organizational change, blah, 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 blah. Like, and I was like, well, this is pretty much the bookworms read that one, or, it's the, we should read that one. We should read that one. We should read that one. Like, it doubled down, tripled down, whatever you want to say on the whole, this guy speaks our language or sorry, I shouldn't speak for both of us. This guy speaks my language, and I was a fan of what's going on here. So,
Yep.
all right, Mike, I'm good. I don't have anything else. Is there anything else you want to say about this one before we move to action items?
Nope. Let's do it.
All right, so action items. I'm only going to take on one action item from this book. I want to take on more, but I don't think that is a healthy thing for me to do right now. So what I'm going to commit to is I want to post these 7 questions and then probably the Terra model, because I thought that was interesting. I like just thinking through that one and what it would mean somewhere where I'll see them. So it's probably going to be like on my desk at work or to like the bottom of my monitor, because I just kind of want to keep these things rolling through my brain. Like I want to keep these questions rolling through my brain. I coach students, I mean, not surprisingly, all the time. I mentor students, I advise students, I coach students. I did not want to get into that conversation today about what's the difference between coaching and mentoring, advising and lead. Like I didn't want to get into that. Like I just kind of wanted to let that ride. But like these are things I do all the time. And then I think what's going to happen is if I make these more visible and then I use that kind of minimum product or minimum usage principle, okay, I ask this question, and if it's there for me, it's like, okay, how can I pop that question off to that student and just see how it works and just see how it plays out. So that's what I'm committing to. I'm going to post the 7 questions, and I'm going to kind of see, do they influence my interactions with people that I coach, lead, mentor, advise. That's the one I'm committed to. What about you? What are your action items?
All right, so I've got 2. The first one is to start asking the awe question, which is, and what else? And specifically with the different coaching scenarios where I offer some sort of coaching inside of the library, but I feel like there's probably other places that I can use that as well. But those specifically are the ones that I want to address. And then the other one was to ban the true but useless statements. Specifically, it's a good busy. I never want to hear myself say that again.
I said it like multiple times while I was reading this book, and I was like, it's kind of frustrating. So, all right, style and rating. It's my book. I will start. Mike, you're not going to be surprised by this one. I am actually just trying to figure out like how I don't give it a 5. Like I just think this is a really good book. It was concise. It was valuable. I immediately see how it's going to impact my life, and I immediately see how it's going to be useful. I by no means think these are the 7 best questions that have ever been asked in the history of the world. I just don't think that's true. But that wasn't my goal. Like my goal wasn't going into this book to thinking like, oh, he's going to tell me the 7 questions that will change the world and revolution. No, it was how do we become a better coach? And then he said, here are 7 questions that will make you a better coach. And I think the guy hit the nail on the head. Like, I think these are 7 questions that if you use them, no matter how you use them, no matter how much you use them, they will make you a better coach. In terms of the style, I liked his writing style. Like it by no means bothered me. I thought it was clean. I thought it was clear. I understood what he was saying. I think the biggest, how do I say this? The biggest like complaint and or rub I have with the book, like, but it's not even that big of a complaint. So I don't even like using that word. I didn't really think the like question masterclass thing was structured well or organized well. Like I thought that was like clunky and kind of weird. I was fine with it. It didn't distract me from the book. I saw what he was doing after like the first 2 or 3 of them. I was like, oh, okay, I get what we're doing now. We're tying back into that habit thing and we're going to go from there. But I just thought that could have been done better, but it's not enough for me to knock it down a point or even a half a point or anything like that. So for me, this book's a 5-star book. If you're interested in coaching yourself, or you're interested in coaching other people, or you're in a management role where you interact with people a lot and help them through coaching type situations, I think the book is too easy to read not to read it. Like, I think you should just pick it up, give it a shot, and see what pieces of it you can implement in your coaching strategy. What about you? What's your thought?
All right. Well, I think I'm going to meet you at the 5 stars. I feel like this is a very applicable book for just about anybody in the bookworm audience. You don't have to be a manager. You don't have to be a coach. I think that he talks about this early on about how you need a coaching habit. That applies to everybody. And if you're a parent, if you're involved in a nonprofit organization like a church or a ministry, I mean, there's so many ways you can apply these principles. He makes it really easy to take the principles from this book and start getting immediate benefit from them. I mean, this book could have been, I feel like, a lot longer. He could have dove a lot deeper into the philosophy behind each one of these questions. He kept it short. He kept it concise. He's a very engaging writer. He tells a lot of funny stories. He's got a self-deprecating sense of humor. Like there's one story in here, I think it's maybe the conclusion, where he talks about, because he's talking about how many coaching conversations are harder than they need to be. He goes camping and he gets lost and he's been walking for hours and he sets up camp. And then he finds somebody, stumbles onto his campsite and he realizes that he's gone like a couple 100 yards from where he parked his car because he lost his way. Like, I don't know. It's a really interesting read. I think even if you have no interest in the topic, you might still enjoy reading this one. Yeah. And I think that there's just so many ways that this can benefit your life that it's worth the time that you would invest to read it. Again, it's pretty short. I don't know. Do you think you could probably finish it in like 2-3 hours maybe?
Oh yeah. If you're any kind of a normal to speedy reader, you can easily do it in a couple hours.
Yeah. It's packaged really cleanly. It's really easy to pick up and crank through it. And I feel like it's time well invested. There's not much fluff. There's not much filler here. We talk sometimes, or I talk sometimes, about people and their like signature books, the book that they were born to write. It feels like, and he's got other books out there, so maybe he would disagree with this now, but I feel like this is the one. You can tell this is a signature book. So and it's like the coaching habit. If you were to ask someone, I want to get better at coaching, what book do I read? Like, it's right there in the title. It's kind of unique. I don't think there's many that you could do that. There's a handful, I think, over the course of all the books that we've read for Bookworm, where it's like, well, I would recommend this one for someone because they're, approaching it this specific way. This is like the cleanest. I need help with X. What do I do? And then you read this book and it gives you an instant upgrade to the leadership coaching conversations that you have. Even if it's not something that you feel like I need to address this problem in my life, I think anybody benefits from reading this.
I agree. Mike, did you recommend this to us? Like, did this come from you, or did I just randomly find this one?
You came across this, and when you came across it, I was like, oh yeah, I did read that book. That would be really good. So I sort of forgot about it for a while.
Yeah, this is one I completely fell into, and man, am I glad I did, right? Like, whatever recommendation engine put this in front of my face, I am grateful for it, because I just think this is a great book. Okay, so let's put The Coaching Habit on the shelf. Mike, you have the next book. What's next?
I do. The next book that we are going to read is going to be interesting. It is The Science of Storytelling by Will Storr, Storr. And I'm not sure if you've looked at this one yet. Have you?
I've not. I haven't had a chance to look at it yet. No.
So it's basically it's a book, but it's essentially a creative storytelling class. So I think this one, this could go one of two directions. This could be either just like way over our heads and we didn't know what we got into when we started this. Because who takes a creative storytelling class? At least with like Matthew Dixon's Storyworthy. It's like, hey, you should just get better at telling stories because this will benefit your everyday life. But also like I think that's a really cool premise. If you've got someone who is taught like a masterclass version of something and then they wrote a book about it, that's kind of cool.
Yep, I'm excited for it. I like different styles of books, so I'm excited for it.
All right, what's
All right,
after
then
that?
I'm up after that. This is The 6 Types of Working Genius by Patrick Lencioni. This is a book from a couple years ago, but Mike mentioned earlier when we were talking about what my next book would be, that basically this seems to be where Lencioni has gone. Like that's like kind of his bread and butter now, what he's really focusing on. So I think this will be fun. The description of it, where he basically talks about these 6 different types of people that you would work with and the model for ranking them and stuff. I think it sounds like an interesting book, so I'm excited to branch into this one.
I am a big fan of Patrick Lencioni, by the way. 5 Dysfunctions of a Team is like one of my favorite books of all time. And I know some people have like PTSD from that being brought up in their corporate environments.
Yeah.
I've heard stories of people who are like their leadership teams bring a whole like box full of these books to a meeting, like, you people are dysfunctional, here, read this. Like, that's not what it's about. But Patrick Lencioni's style is just so interesting.
And I've never read any of. I've heard about him, and I've heard he writes like good books. I've never read any of his books though. So
most of his books are fables. They're like even the 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. There's a framework that he's teaching there, but he teaches it through a narrative, through a story, and then at the end he kind of ties it all together. So this will be interesting. This is a little bit of a diversion, I feel like, because he's just straight up productivity book style, teaching us the framework. But
all right, Mike, do you have any gap books for between now and next time?
Ooh, yes. Actually, I just finished one. I didn't finish Walden, but I did finish. Predictable Profits by Stu McLaren. And Stu McLaren is the guy behind membership.io. So he's kind of a membership guy. And Predictable Profits is really all about like you're trying to start a membership community, and he talks you through everything that you might possibly want to know. The part of this that really I liked though was the 4th part, which is, okay, you've got your membership set up. Like, how do you deliver the content or the coaching, whatever, in that membership in a way where your members get the most out of it? That was really good. It definitely went along with some of the stuff that talked about in the coaching habit here. Mm-hmm. And really it couples with something I picked up at the New Media Summit, which is that people don't want information, they want transformation. Yeah. Like he talks about, you don't want a whole bunch of courses. You want simple frameworks that you're leading people through, and you want to deliver results, as opposed to, hey, there's more stuff that you can do. Yeah. And it's really got me thinking about changes that I want to make to the library. So,
well, and that statement right there, I didn't put it together the first time you said it, but people don't want information, they want transformation. Man, I see that with my students all the time too. Like they don't need another class where somebody's lecturing at them and like, they want to be better at what they're thinking. They want to have a new skill. Like that's a really cool phrase. So thanks for that one. Okay, so mine would be next. It's Sojourners and Strangers. Again, it's a theology book. They're going to be theology books until the end of April. I'm slightly behind on my theology books right now because of all the other things that are happening in life. But you know what? We're just going to keep plowing. We're going to keep pushing through, and everything's going to go. So, Mike, if I'm boring you with all of my doctrine and theology books, I'm sorry, but that's where it's going to stay. It's going to stay that way.
It's all right.
Okay, so thanks for listening. If you are interested in more of what we do, we recorded a slightly longer pro show before this show. It was we were talking about using LLMs and using AI to create cool things, and how we've been exploring that. So if you're interested in that, you can check that out. It's through our Patreon membership. Go to patreon.com/bookwormfm, or you can go to bookworm.fm/pro. $7 a month. Not only do you get the additional content that we throw in the front of the show, but you also get a bootleg that's released right after. So we take the live recording and we dump it down and we turn it loose quickly. You get a wallpaper, a Bookworm wallpaper, and then Mike has generously offered us his reading masterclass from the library, so you can take that. Mike, I forget how many hours that is. It's like 2 or 3 hours, isn't it? Something like that.
Yeah, it was almost 3 hours, I believe.
Yeah, so you can take his reading masterclass as well for that. But if you're interested in supporting the show, it helps with servers and websites and all of those things and memberships to different things. But we would greatly appreciate that. And to those who do support us, we thank you so much.
All right, so Cory is too modest. The Pro Show, he built a plugin that takes Obsidian tests and puts them in OmniFocus. But there's a really cool, super awesome special feature that you'll have to listen to the Pro Show to get.
Ooh.
Cory, I'm going to put you on the spot here. Are you willing to share that plugin with the people who join the Bookworm Pro membership?
I am 100% willing to share that with them. The other thing this will let me do, and this will tie into the Pro Show stuff, it'll let me talk to LLMs and Claude about how you post a plugin publicly, right? Like, so yeah, I mean, like that'll be fun too. Or I'll get to demo it with some other people before I post it publicly. So that'll be fun.
All right. Well, there, you heard it here first, folks. If you want Cory's awesome plugin, then sign up to support the show. We'd really appreciate it.
Here's what I'll tell you: if we get one new member, I will put it on the community. I will submit it to do community plugin to see if it can become a community plugin.
No, I think you should just throw it up in the Patreon.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I can throw it in the Patreon for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, cool. So bookworm.fm/pro. If you're reading along with us, pick up The Science of Storytelling by Will Storr, and we'll talk to you in a couple of weeks.